Time to re-up YouTube. Your boy Mustard is back with another video, and we are here to talk about the Los Angeles Clippers, who have come in at number 7 on my season preview. The Clippers are truly one of the most interesting teams I have ever seen in a very long time. When you talk about well-roundedness and depth, the Clippers personify that better than arguably any team in the league. I mean, we're talking about a roster that can go 12 deep even when they're in the playoffs. It's insane the amount of versatility that they have, and a big chunk of that reason is because their owner Steve Ballmer, he's willing to spend the money. Shout out to Steve for real. Not only is he willing to put his money where his mouth is, but he also got them a head coach in Ty Lue that has made the job so much easier for their players. Ty Lue, in my opinion, is the best coach in basketball. Not only did he make a more diverse offense that put the ball in Paul George's hands, which Doc Rivers obviously did not do, but he proved this past year that he didn't even need Paul George for most of the year or Kawhi Leonard for any of the year for them to still be a respectable team. As if it wasn't for this new play-in tournament, the Clippers would have made the playoffs as the 8th seed, finishing with an above 500 record and top 10 in defensive rating and 11th in opponents' points per game. But let's look at this roster that Ty Lue was able to uplift outside of PG and Kawhi, their duo. Players like Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey are really good role players to have. They give a lot of defensive effort. Mann is not the greatest three-point shooter, but he always moves without the ball. He's hustling, and in the case of Amir Coffey, he's a good three-point shooter and has proved his value on the defensive end. It's going to be really important to have guys like this because it provides flexibility on the bench, especially in times that PG and Kawhi Leonard are not in the court and Luke Kennard is. Which brings me to that man Luke Kennard himself, one of the best three-point shooters in the league. That man last year was truly a sniper. He shot nearly 45% on 6 attempts from behind the arc. It's insane how great of a shooter he is and how little people talk about it. But you thought we were done with the 3D wings that they have on the bench? Nope, because that brings me to Robert Covington. Covington has been one of the league's best wing defenders ever since his days in Philadelphia. He isn't what he used to be on that end, but he's still very capable and he's a decent three-point shooter. Then you have a guy like Nicholas Batum, who has proven his worth time and time again. Batum really stepped in for them at the 5 position in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and his effectiveness was such a key role in them beating the Utah Jazz. He has the ability to switch and guard multiple positions as a very flexible defender. He's a good three-point shooter, high IQ, and a nice underrated passer. I mean, there really isn't anything more that you want out of a player like Nicholas Batum that he doesn't already provide. I truly do believe their wing combination on the bench is a thing of beauty. The flexibility that these players provide is going to be a key to them in the postseason, and even throughout the regular season whenever they do eventually load manage guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I believe they're going to be more than enough to get the job done throughout those games in the regular season. And I know that there's more wings on this team, which we're about to get to in a second, but those guys I truly do believe are the more important ones on the defensive end, with the flexibility they're going to provide for players like Luke Kennard to be able to play, as well as Reggie Jackson, 2 players that are not known for their defense. But one guy who is known for his defense, especially when you talk about his improvement on that end, is Zubac. Zubac, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated players in the league. Obviously, he's not some star. Hell, he just averaged double-digit points for the first time in his career this past year with 10 a game. But he's a very underrated defender and rim protector for this team. They don't have a lot of size, and Zubac makes up for some of that. He's a nice rebounder, a good rim protector, and he's very efficient with the shots that he takes. He's a perfect fit in this system, and more than anything, he is durable, which is very important on this team. The other 2 wings that they have are players like Norman Powell and Marcus Morris. And when it comes to Marcus Morris, I think his defense has kind of fallen off over the last couple of years, but offensively, he is still a very serviceable player. He's a capable floor spacer, can put the ball on the floor just a tad bit, even though you obviously don't want to see him do that often. But the main thing about him that I think stands out on this team is that he actually steps up for them in the playoffs, or at least he has over the last 2 seasons. But in the case of Norman Powell, I can't lie, man, that was a sneaky great pickup for them last year. I don't know what the Blazers were thinking, just giving up that little package that they got for Norman Powell in return. Powell is a nice shot creator, even though he's not elite by far, but he's a decent one, and he's a really nice off-ball player. Over the last 2 seasons, he's essentially been a 20-point per game scorer on over 6 attempts a game from 3, shooting over 40%. And defensively, even though he's not elite by far, he's still a very capable defender that can guard the 1 through the 3. The only problem and concern I probably have with Norman Powell is his health, as last year he only literally played 5 games for the Clippers due to the injury that he suffered, and hopefully it doesn't become some trend in his career as he is inching on 30 years of age coming soon. But now that we've talked about their wings, their big, let's talk about their guard play, primarily their point guard play in Reggie Jackson and John Wall. Now so far there hasn't been a clear indication who's going to be the starter, but based off of the preseason it looks like it's going to be John Wall. That probably is best, as I think Reggie Jackson is not a real full-time point guard. I mean, he could be nice in spurts, but I think he's best used coming off of the bench. He's quick, he has a nice little first step, he's a capable 3-point shooter and a nice passer as well. But I would start Wall because he has more impact on the defensive side of the ball, or at least he did when last seen. I know some people are probably wondering, what are you talking about? Wall was not on a good defensive team. He was a part of how bad the Rockets defense was when he last played, but I truly do believe that before Christian Wood got hurt in the season John Wall was playing, he was playing some of the best defense of his career, as the Rockets went on a win streak and they were one of the best defenses in the NBA for a good stretch of time. Wall is also still very fast for a player that's gone through the amount of injuries, especially to the lower body, that he's gone through. He's going to be very effective in transition as a decision maker and just a scoring threat. He's a very capable passer and he can apply rim pressure, which this team does need. I saw some of that preseason game and it's nice to see John Wall finally playing again. I can't believe he was on the Rockets and they didn't play him. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand why they didn't, and shout out to John Wall, he finessed that bag, but it's still a really crazy situation when you think back on it. But then that finally brings us to their 2-star duo of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, the 2 guys that were supposed to be the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen when they came together in 2020. Oh man, good times for real. But in all seriousness though, let's talk about PG for a second. PG has evolved and had like 3 different stages of his career. When he was younger, he was this raw athletic wing that was a capable shooter and shot creator. Then he went to OKC post injury, and though he wasn't as athletic, he was a much better and fluid shot creator on the ball, and you saw his peak defensively as one of the best wings that we've seen on that side of the ball of his generation, finishing top 5 in defensive player of the year voting in 2019, the same year he finished top 5 in the MVP race. And now in Los Angeles, Ty Lue has unlocked PG's playmaking ability that he's always had over the course of his career, but it's gone to a new level in this Ty Lue system. PG may not be the defender that he was in OKC, but he's still one of the best ones that we have. He may not be as athletic as he was in Indiana, but he's still a very good athlete, and that handle is so smooth. He's a nice shot creator on the ball. He's one of the best off-ball players in the league, capable of cutting, spotting up, coming off of screens. He can attack the mid-range. He doesn't get to the rim as much, I definitely do believe that, but he's a good 3-point shooter and free throw shooter. The man is capable of scoring in any way, shape, or form outside of getting to the rim frequently. And when you couple that scoring gravity as an individual threat, he's able to use that gravity in order to make plays for his teammates. I honestly think PG is an underrated pick and roll ball handler and has been over the course of his career, to be quite honest with you. On a team like this that has loads of spacing and a pick and roll partner in Zubac, I'm expecting him to still be one of the better playmakers at his position next year. And the same thing goes for Kawhi Leonard, their superstar. Kawhi Leonard has evolved as a playmaker over the last couple of years in his career, and it's kind of been by necessity. This team doesn't really have a true playmaker on the roster, and I'm talking about a guy that can legitimately be one of the best playmakers in the league. And though PG and Kawhi Leonard are good, I wouldn't call them elite playmakers. Nonetheless though, Kawhi has improved his passing ever since he's come to Los Angeles, and when you couple that with the fact that he is capable of scoring at all 3 levels, being one of the best mid-range shooters in the game today, a nice 3-point shooter, can get to the rim and obviously finish at the free throw line, with the fact that he's still one of the best defensive wings of this league, and it's no surprise why the Clippers are seen as one of the favorites in the Western Conference. Kawhi has proven himself to be one of the greatest playoff performers of all time. I mean, we're talking about a player that when we last saw him in the playoffs, he was averaging 30 points a game, 8 rebounds and 4 assists, along with 2 steals on 57% shooting from the field, 39% from 3, 88% at the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of nearly 68%. It really is a shame that he got injured in that playoff run, because Kawhi was having one of the all-time great postseason postseason runs for any individual player that we have ever seen. I truly do believe if Kawhi Leonard is back to form come postseason time, which obviously there's a good chance that he will be, then it's possible that Kawhi could be holding the Finals MVP award when it's all said and done. And sure, they are a little bit lower on my list than some of you guys probably anticipated for them to be, but the reason for that is health. It truly is crazy that everybody gets on the Lakers, especially Anthony Davis, for being injury prone, but when you look at the other team in Los Angeles, they are just filled with injury prone players, which has been the biggest reason why they haven't even made the NBA Finals yet in the Kawhi Leonard Clippers era. Kawhi was fairly injury prone before he tore his ACL, and now he's in his early 30s. Paul George just came off of a whole season where he missed over half the games. Norman Powell missed a chunk of the season last year due to injury. Nicholas Batum isn't getting any younger and only played 59 out of the 82 games last season. And in the case of John Wall, he has a hospital bed with his name on it at the start of every season. So when you look at this team on the whole, it's obvious it's championship or bust. When you have a guy like Kawhi Leonard, you don't have any years to waste, especially for a player in his early 30s that just recommitted, probably the end of his prime to y'all. The Clippers are essentially a team that has such a high ceiling, but we have to adjust our expectations because of reality. Would I love to see Kawhi Leonard and PG holding up that championship at the end of the year? Of course, especially for Paul George. He really needs it. And not only them, as a side note, I would love to see John Wall as well get a ring. But unfortunately, the health of this team is such a big concern, and the best ability will always be availability. But hey, that concludes this video, and before I wrap this up, I would like to give a shout out to the Off the Grid episode that we just dropped yesterday. We talked about a whole bunch of things: the Kanye West situation, Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in the face, and we also did our 2023 NBA season award predictions. The link will be down below in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.